Welcome back. We now take a little departure from blood donation and ask you to make another donation, a donation of your time and of a few bucks to Showcase Theater in Exeter, who is putting on a show that I think will ring familiar with all of you, the Rocky Horror Show. You know it from those midnight showings at the movie theater with people holding newspapers over their head and throwing toast at the screen. Well, I don't know if they're going to be throwing toast at the stage, but Paul and Don Winarski are with me from Showcase Theater. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Morning.
Morning.
The Rocky Horror Show. I think a lot of people are probably surprised right now that it's happening at Showcase Theater and not at a movie theater.
Yes, exactly. We've fielded so many calls about what time is the movie. So we've been stressing in all of the press that this is the original stage production that became the Rocky Horror Picture Show a few years after its original run.
So it was a play before it was a movie.
It was a play before it was
Okay.
a film. Premiered in 1973 in London in a tiny 60-seat theater, and it just took off. It ran for something like 19 years in London.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yes.
And has it ever actually, enjoyed a long run in the United States?
It enjoyed a very successful run in Los Angeles the year after it opened in London. Then it came to New York in the summer of '74 and went for 49 performances.
Oh.
But that was rectified a couple of years ago. In 2000, they brought a big renovated revival to New York, which was up for all kinds of revival Tonys and everything else.
Excellent.
Which is what got me thinking about doing the show, actually.
It's interesting because I know Showcase does one musical a year, and your theater is known for doing something a little different and a little off from your usual Sound of Music, King and I,
Exactly.
typical appease the masses shows. And you always manage to find it some kind of different, unusual musical. Dawn, you directed The Fantastics a number of years ago, which it's a well-known show, but it's definitely a different type of show.
Right, we try to do something a little different with it here and there.
And Rocky Horror just seems to fit the bill.
Oh, yeah.
How did it all come about? Did you just wake up one morning in the middle of the night and say, Rocky Horror, this is what we have to do?
Not quite.
I didn't think so.
It kind of was brewing in my head for quite a while. I had purchased the Revival Cast album with Tom Hewitt and Alice Ripley. They renovated the score. They totally took out all of the 70s sound and really revamped it into a more modern rock score, quicker paced, slick, and I just fell in love with the music. I mean, not that I didn't like the show before, but you're used to hearing, you know, the film where the vocals are slowed down and Susan Sarandon has a hard time staying on pitch. But then hearing the Revival album just totally blew me away, and I thought, you know, if this is available, if this closes in New York sometime soon, I'm going to submit the show.
I remember talking to you on the phone around when you were making that decision. You said, you know, we're thinking about a musical, and you can't tell anybody this yet, but
Yes.
Rocky Horror. And I think I said something to like, yeah, that's you. So you're directing the show, if you haven't gathered that by now. And Dawn, you are starring as Janet.
Yes.
Now, who portrayed Janet in the film so people can remember?
And that was Susan Sarandon.
Okay, that was Susan Sarandon.
Yes.
So we're hoping you'll be a little more on pitch.
Oh, I hope I was.
than Susan was.
Because that wasn't, that wasn't her famous moment.
Now, for anybody who has not seen the film or the show, tell me a little bit about the storyline and how Janet fits into all of it.
Okay, well, actually, it basically has to do with a young couple who had just attended a wedding of a friend, and they are also going to be visiting their old college professor, Dr. Scott. And as they were driving to see him, the car breaks down, they blow out a tire, and they have to stop.
Story.
Yes, on the side of the road, and they have to stop at this large castle, and they meet various strange people, Dr. Frank-N-Furter and all his strange friends from the planet Transsexual. Now, at the time, they don't have any clue that actually everybody in this mansion are aliens. And so, and then Dr. Scott makes an appearance as
So you
well.
just gave away the end.
I know. But they don't know it by now.
So Dr. Scott is in this castle. This is the one that they were going to see.
Well, actually, he stops by, actually.
He stops by, oh, okay.
Yes.
Looking for his nephew.
Yes, he's looking for his
see.
nephew who's gone missing.
Yes.
So, strange things occur from there on.
And who is Janet?
Janet is actually one of the young lovers.
Okay.
And like I said, it was done by Susan Sarandon in the movie. And I don't know, She just is this very kind of uptight type of person. She and her boyfriend, or fiance actually, are just kind of like one of those typical 50s ordinary couples. You know, like I said, very uptight and, you know, no premarital anything.
It's going to be a stretch for her.
Oh, Janet becomes extremely liberated as the show
Yes,
goes
very
on.
liberated, yes,
Oh.
as it goes on.
There's a shocker.
Janet's bursting to let loose of her repressiveness, while Brad
I
is
see.
actually honestly as repressed as he seems.
And who plays Brad?
David Beloga.
Oh, that's Dave. Okay. Well, that's
worked out nicely.
a good match, actually. Just take a quick glance here at the rest of the cast. You've got an interesting, eclectic group of people here.
Yes, indeed. Kevin Costly as Dr. Frank-N-Furter, who's doing an amazing job with the role.
I see both Greg Corrin and Keith Edwards will be in the show.
Yes, that's a little joke. Come to see it and you'll figure that out.
Yeah, those who have seen Greg on my show before will understand what we're talking about. Kevin Costly, Linda Gerlach, who has graced your stage many, many times, as has Lauren Costanza.
And Jack Gibbons as the criminologist, one of our veteran performers.
Excellent. It's quite the cast. So you're in rehearsal now? No, you opened
No, we
last
opened
weekend,
last week.
and then you're up again tonight. So
Yeah.
how did
Well, the
opening
first
go?
weekend was completely sold out.
Excellent.
The Friday performance, the 2 on Saturday, including the midnight performance, and last night, which was Friday, was also a sold-out house. And we're performing 2 tonight, which are extremely close to selling out. So give a call if there are any tickets available. There is a waiting list as well. So we're featuring the 8 o'clock show and the midnight show this evening, with a Sunday matinee at 2 o'clock.
Any chance of an extension?
Unfortunately not, due
No.
to commitments of the actors.
Oh,
We actually added the extra midnight show as opposed to going second Friday and Saturday.
makes sense. If you're interested and you're looking for tickets, it's 654-2555, or log on to showcasetheater.tripod.com, and that is theater spelled E-R as opposed to R-E, as an easy mistake to make, so we want to make sure that you get to the website appropriately. So what's next? What's coming up at Showcase after?
Next,
Horror?
Greg Corrin is holding auditions for Breaking Legs. It's a comedy by Tom Dulac about a college professor who goes to the mafia to finance his new Broadway production. A former student of his suggests her father, who is very rich and would be willing to underwrite the show. And it's one of those great scenarios where you've got, you know, the playwright going to these people who know absolutely nothing about theater. Of course, they put their money up, and all of these gangsters think that they know exactly what should be in the show. So they're all adding their ideas. Well, I think it should be like this, and you know, back and forth, and you know, hilarity ensues. That's going up in March. We're holding auditions, if anyone is interested, for 5 men and 1 female. And the auditions are this coming week, January 20th and 21st at 7 o'clock at the theater.
Excellent. And anything else exciting happening in and after that?
We're concluding our season with The Price.
The Price.
Yes,
Okay.
Arthur Miller.
Uh-huh.
Art Walsh is directing that in May, last weekend in May, first weekend in June.
So you won't be taking the director's chair anytime
No,
this season?
not at this moment.
No.
Perhaps next season.
Dawn has directed many shows at Showcase, many of which we've talked about here on the show, and we've never actually gotten her to come onto the camera. And we finally have you here. Against your will, though, from what I understand.
Just a little.
Dave Beloga, if you're watching, you're in trouble. You were supposed to be in this chair. At least, so I'm told.
Yes.
People are so familiar with the film, Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, people are expecting to see Tim Curry in drag. Have you tried to replicate what they have seen, or are you taking your own completely different approach to this?
It's a completely different approach. Of course, you'll see the same songs.
Right.
You'll see the same dialogue for the most part. There are 1 or 2 scenes in the film which do not exist in the play, just for obvious reasons.
Right. A car breaking down in front of a castle isn't going to happen on stage.
Exactly.
Right.
Or the big dinner scene, so you cannot bring toast because there's no scene where they lift their glasses to toast. But we've gone a little different in the costuming, a little different in the approach. One of the main questions people have asked when they've seen pictures of Kevin as Frank-N-Furter is, what's with the white David Bowie wig instead of the curly black Tim Curry wig? It's like, well, it's because Kevin isn't Tim Curry.
Exactly.
And he's just bringing such an edge to the role, something that you'll forget Tim Curry completely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Have you had anybody show up in costume or holding newspapers over their heads?
Yes, we have. Actually, we encourage people to, show up in costume. We encourage them to bring certain props. They're allowed to bring the newspapers, the rubber gloves. They're allowed to bring confetti. They are not allowed to bring water pistols because of our high voltage electric equipment.
That
or
could be a
anything,
disaster.
Yeah, or anything that you can throw at the actors. You cannot throw anything at the actors. Also, the calling back that they do during the movie at the screen, we're allowing that in moderation. They're allowed to shout at the actors, in moderation during the dialogue. Of course, not during the musical numbers because the actors need to hear the musical
Right.
cues.
How's it been as an actor to deal with that?
It was very disconcerting the first time.
I could imagine.
Actually, the last week, right before we opened, we had some people that were familiar with the whole midnight movie type of thing come by and start shouting at us so we could get used to that idea.
Okay.
And I remember the first night we had it happen with my first line, and I just stopped because someone yelled something out at me, and I'm like, what? It just completely threw me off. But once you got used to the fact, as it went on later on in the evening, it was fine. And then when opening night came, we were a little nervous again, not knowing what they were going to yell at us. And instead of having one or two people yelling, you were going to have a whole audience yelling at you. And actually, it was a lot of fun. As soon as we had the first, one come out, everybody was like, oh, okay, that's not so bad.
Now, there's no actual interaction, right?
Right. Actually, the only person who occasionally will interact is our narrator, Jack Gibbons.
Okay. That would
But
make
everyone
sense.
else on stage is actually supposed to ignore the whole fact and just kind of go on with what they're doing.
Well, it's the Rocky Horror Show. It's happening at Showcase Theater tonight at 8 and at midnight tomorrow afternoon at 2.
2. Yes.
2. For information, it's 654-2555 or showcasetheater.tripod.com. That's going to wrap it up for us. Paul, Dawn, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Come
Thank
back
you.
again and talk about your next project. And we will see you again on Saturday morning at 6 right here on Northeast Current. Until then, I'm John Baldino for PAC 64 WQPX.